That's not only refreshing, but it also helps them become more efficient and effective in their jobs. And then the only thing that I'd say with stuff is sometimes investing in the right stuff reduces that pressure. And so it might be the right piece of equipment, might be the right piece of technology at the right time. So now instead of it taking me 8 hours, it takes me 3 hours.
And I think we are confident in the people that we have, whether it's you, whether it's Pat, whether it's Kevin, finding those opportunities for equipment and telling us we should trade this out, ship this out, and knowing when that is an effective move. And
it's totally Kenny Rogers, the gambler, right? You got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them. I do want to point out that your butts are all in brand new chairs. You're welcome.
Did you send the old ones valid?
And for $75 a piece, $500 chairs that one of our staff members hunted down and found because Target was closing down.
Wait, who did that? Can we give that person
Mike
attaboys?
Pritchard.
Yes.
Yeah, he totally. That's an attaboy.
Yeah.
So let him keep surfing the internet.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what we learned.
Nobody else can, just Mike.
That's what we
But
learned.
that's also an indicator of how stuff is good for morale. And, you know,
and for lower backs.
and definitely, my chiropractor thanks you. Actually, no, they don't thank you because they're getting less money. So that delivery of the delivery priorities, if you have other things like that, you know, and there's some hard conversations, Kevin and I have talked about this. We're about to take in a whole bunch of trails. We really need to nail down and clarify how we're going to maintain those, because we currently don't have the people, we don't have the equipment, and some people's expectations are really high in that regards. And so then one way that you support us is we don't have the people and we don't have the equipment in order to plow every trail that we just took over here in Corcoran this year. Maybe that's something we can work towards a long-term goal. But if we're going to meet these budget priorities, it's going to mean saying no to some things that people are not going to be happy about us saying no.
So they move out of their city and move to Corcoran and want Corcoran to become the city that they just left, where they plowed their,
They didn't want to be part of it.
like, come on, man.
But I think on that trail topic, that is going to be a big one that we have to start somewhere more reasonable. We can't do all of the trails that we're going to take on in the next year.
Nor do we want to.
Because
it's unsustainable.
Yeah.
Until we're able to grow that capacity.
Yeah, I think to the extent that we need to look at, I don't know how much of those are going to turn over in 2025. It seems like we've been on the cusp for a long time, but maybe we're really on the cusp, and at least in a few in Ravinia with phases and different things like that. So we have to figure out, a small game plan to start, and over time, maybe we can expand that type of program. But it's also been brought up in the past by other HOA or representatives from HOAs. Just throwing out ideas like, do we partner with them? We give them $1,000 to do with what they want in terms of hiring a subcontractor to do that, or to do it themselves, or maybe partnering with HOAs.
Or as we have those HOA developments, we just don't take over the trails and we make sure the HOAs keep them. I live in the Jonathan neighborhood in Chaska, and my HOA fees pay for the maintenance of the trails.
Yeah, all things that need to be considered for sure.
So a couple.
They could have a little coin box if you rode your bike into their neighborhood.
Yeah. You have to put the coin in for the letter to come up. So a couple other things that I wanted to bring up that are important to put on your radar. One, I've talked a lot with Natalie. We're on the cusp of Comp Plan 2050 season, and we're in agreement that we don't want to do anything in 2025. Met Council doesn't have their ducks in a row right now. My last meeting with them, they don't know which end is up. So let's just let them figure out what their messaging is going to be, and then in 2026 we'll talk about responding to it. So that's one strategic decision that's important. Some of our neighbors are going to be leaning forward on that. We don't need to spend any money until it's time to spend money.
Can I comment on that?
Sure.
Because are you going to move to your other thing?
I was going to.
Can I comment on that?
Please.
Cut and paste like crazy. I think we started from scratch on the last one.
To that point, Met Council at least has had very early conversations about helping cities that there may be a lot of copy and pasting that
Yeah.
are making drastic changes, and actually either helping with giving staff time or some sort of funding towards it. It's just early discussions on that, but I think
Well,
that's all the
I'm
more
on
reason
the
to wait.
land use advisory committee.
It's your fault.
So there we have a voice on that. And so I can help us to get through that process too with knowing people, but that thing cost us like
A lot.
$500,000 the last time we did it. And it's wholly unnecessary. And remember that the Met Council doesn't have as much say as they did the last time we did ours because they lost a court case to Oak Grove. They are not the final say.
I think that's all works with us not rushing into it. in
Yeah.
2025.
We got lots
I'm
of
just
time on the
planting
clock.
that seed.
So that's the proposal related to that. That's a looming
Good.
one that some of our peers are going to be ponying up some cash in 2025 that I
Let
think
them-
will save
we can
us
see
some
what we can-
latitude.
Borrow from their work too.
But that means that there are something that's really critical for us is we need to start refining our future campus planning, whatever that looks like. And part of the reason for that is when we get the positions filled that you have approved and we're trying to recruit, we're out of desks. And so we're out of space here and we're trying to find better ways to maximize use of this space. But good stewardship means we need to be thinking about what the next chapter looks like. And so we at least need to revisit those conversations that have started with some intention and putting them on a timeline. And that'll be part of the long-term financial planning when Tammy Aldo comes to talk to us because that's going to be significant. But for us as staff, it's going to mean space assessments, discussions, and probably the biggest strategic decision that's going to impact us is with some of our fire contracts. If we want to change that equation, we're going to have to put some investment here. That's either going to be a collaborative partnership with us creating a space so that one of our partners has fire capability within our space and we're building it and maybe they're renting it. But we need to have that conversation of creating some capacity here.
Yeah, I would actually recommend on that note, maybe John, you and you all meet as John and I have kind of been fire subcommittee for the last couple of years. There's probably a few things that we should discuss on it, so we should have a meeting sooner than later on that.
And that's also going to mean some staffing. Like we need somebody that's going to quarterback that. That's a staff person that's not only going to come up with the ideas, but they're going to feel a sense of ownership going into the future. I've had some questions. How do we try and reduce our costs? It's to work smarter.
Whatever you do, title that person properly. Because they didn't before when it was in the budget and it was a S show.
Okay.
I don't think you were around then, but please, before you think of that person's title, you have to talk to someone.
Understood. So those are the things that are on our minds. We're in the process right now, as you identified. We have critical staff needs right now that we're trying to recruit, we're trying to hire. But as we look into 2025, it's really going to be preparing for the future and securing our present.
I believe it was on this consent agenda. I wanted to make sure everyone caught it, the contract with the assessor. That was on this one.
So the joint powers agreement, I've been working with them. This year they increased by another 15,000. So our assessor fees were 165,000 for 2024, and they will be zero for 2025. So that gives us some wiggle room. They're no longer going to charge us that. There's a lot of variables in that equation. The reason the joint powers agreement was in here. Worked with Mr. Thames to get that language refined. But it's supposed to go to Hennepin County Commissioners on the 23rd of July, and our agreement with Hennepin County ends at the end of July. So it will come to you on the 25th of July, assuming that they presume it for final approval for signatures. But that's a big deal for us in terms of creating some space in our budget in terms of current obligations.
Shysters.
Yeah, I was not happy with the increase that was initially proposed.
I voted against that. It's the Fox's Garden Hen House.
Well, there's that aspect, and then also just how, I think that they, for the price we were paying, I didn't like the efficiency of how they actually went about it, but for the price of zero, I'm more okay with it.
So my last request to council would be that third bullet. If there's any goals or priorities, so one, if you recall, one of my first council meetings, I had talked without understanding about where does the canine program fit in, and I got pretty quick clarification that it is a priority within the community. I'm happy to report we've done our first payment for the dog, and we're going to be doing interviews for interested officers for the canine program here soon. But that was not something that I realized was a priority at that time. Are there any other priorities or goals that council has that we need to ensure that we're incorporating into the budget that will take resources, time, energy, and money?
I don't think this should affect the 2025 budget. I think it should be all handled before then, but I would just want to make sure that we have whatever we need in place to make sure that we're caught up and getting Granicus, Laserfish, all those operational as soon as possible.
And that's what I was gonna say. Let's get caught up. Let's get all the things done we want before we even think of adding more. Y'all got enough to do. And catching up from the past year and a half and stuff. It's a pretty tall order. Appreciate everything y'all have done so far and what you're about to do.
Will there be a puppy at Night to Unite?
That's premature.
Okay.
I can bring my dog.
I can
I can bring mine.
You can have one to your dog and you're gonna have them.
we can fake it. We can put a canine collar on Rue.
You can bring Rue.
Rue is so well behaved.
Yeah.
And then we just got 2 new asses in the farm too. We could bring in a couple of asses too. I mean, dogs, miniature dogs.
There you go.
You know, go petting zoo.
So if we brought 2, would there be 3?
Okay.
Well, I'm bringing Leslie. Leslie will be there.
Stevie said it was okay. She didn't, I was kidding.
Well, thank you for that guidance.
It's just gonna kill me.
And we've already moved forward with initial drafts working with the departments. But before we bring something forward to you, I wanted to make sure that we measured twice before we cut.
Very good.
We're good. Perfect. Cool. Alrighty. No staff reports, no mayor council reports. City council schedules in the packet. It's gonna change and it's busy, but that's what we know at this point. It's gonna look like.
I do have one last thing.
Oh, and Jay has one last thing.
So to answer Councilmember Lanterman's question, thank you for your diligence in looking at that. On the financial report, during the break, Jody and I got together and we identified what the problem was. So I'd like to provide a quick answer. They actually sent us 2 invoices for the same fee, but the invoices looked different. That's why they were both processed. On the positive note, that's our monthly fee. So we just won't pay them next month.
Wow.
That works.
What cut of
Good
that
catch.
savings?
Can I make a motion to do an audit? Vendors do that. You should audit that vendor's invoices.
I do get statements that I reconcile each month.
Okay.
So thank you for pointing that out.
Sure.
Wow.
And where's this fancy keyboard? That's what
It
I
was
want.
actually 6. We did look it up. There's 6
Oh, you
keyboards.
got me on
And
that one.
I have an example in my office if you would like to see it. I've been doing the iPad, trying to get him ready so that I can do the training with you all in the month ahead.
The actual overall price for the 6 of them was pretty good.
It was.
but
So
when he looks at one keyboard, it does.
keyboards or 6
Yeah,
keyboards.
That S
or-
is important.
I look at that silly thing all the time.
Did
and I
Pritchard
miss
find
that.
those too?
So kudos.
I said, did Pritchard find the
saying.
keyboards too?
It's a weird
No, you did
dollar.
not. That would be Chris Reichert.
And the invoice number was right there.
That's a good catch. I appreciate that, Mark.
I don't know if now's the time or not, but we talked about, my W-4, I don't want that. Put it into the cops budget or put it into, someone else's budget.
I gotta talk to that guy.
I don't need that.
Yeah.
I don't, well, I'm not gonna cash the check, so I don't.
Well,
want
that's
it.
a separate
The city
issue
doesn't
for me,
accept
though.
donations.
I don't need the city's money.
Paula,
I don't do
Second.
this to get rich.
Worst case of-
So if I can talk to you about that, there are some audit things for us that we might still need it, and I respect your wishes, and we can work out a plan, but I still might need you to fill out some documentation to make
I
sure
have
that
no
we're
problem with that.
above board.
I just don't want the cash.
Appreciate that.
All
I
right.
think you could donate park benches.
We can do park benches
There you go.
Just
dedicated by.
Wait, how much,
by
how much
Jeremy
do
and
you think
Mark.
that, how much are city council members making? I think we could maybe do 3/4 of a park bench.
You can buy
Maybe a
six
bike
of those.
rack.
A folding chair.
Yeah, 6 expensive
No.
Like, sit one at the parade route.
On that note,
There
I'll
you
move
go.
to adjourn.
Okay. Motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
I did.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I
Hey,
did.
thank
Hey,
you,
I
everyone.
voted